Hey, True Believers, England Tina here with another episode of Really That Good. This is where we take a look at a comic book that generally has a very good reputation, and we're going to see if it deserves said reputation. This time around, we are talking about Green Arrow and the Longbow Hunters. One of the reboots after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and this one, unlike any other, has stuck. Yes, after Green Arrow and the Longbow Hunters, never again did you see the boxing glove arrow or the key arrow or any of those kind of silly things. It was deadly-ass Green Arrow shooting sharp points into people's skulls. And that's what we all want, and that's what we all enjoy. So let's kick back, relax, and see if Green Arrow and the Longbow Hunters truly deserves that reputation. Is it really that good? All right, starting with number one, and as always, we start to look at the cover, which is a poster cover, especially if you open it all the way up. Get rid of that line down the middle and where it says Book 1, The Hunters. I think you've got it nailed, and it works, considering it's Green Arrow, it's the city of Seattle, and this is an entire setup issue. So, hey, good for it. Still, I think the image of Green Arrow could be a little bit bigger. Including the credits page on this comic book only. I won't be doing it for 2 and 3. It's called The Hunters, and it's Mike Grell all the way, art and story, and it is a beautiful book. I know it looks a little rough sometimes when you're looking at it. Now, it's called The Hunters, and that's kind of the theme. We've got 3 going on. Actually, we've got 2 at the beginning. We have what's called a Robin Hood killer, and then there's a guy going around taking out hookers. And we meet up with Oliver, we meet up with Diane, and I really want to call them that for this issue because one of the things is coming to grips with what you are. Oliver Queen is now 43 years old in this story, and I love the fact that they let him age. And he's talking about how maybe it's time to settle down. He ends up telling his origin story, and I like it just reminds you that he may be the third hunter. You know, he just doesn't hunt the good guys. He hunts the bad guys. One of the cool things is he finds out he's just rambling. Diane's heard this before. So when he turns around, he sees she's not there. And she shows up in her old Black Canary outfit just to kind of entice him. She's a hunter too. Yeah. So we get back to the other things, the serial killers, the whole 9 yards. Everybody is, it's all set up. This entire book, this entire issue, it's all set up. It's all talking about what's important for the future, what's going to be dangerous in the future. Diane and Oliver talk about whether or not they want to have kids and how would it affect the life that they've chosen. It's far more deeper than a Green Arrow story was ever allowed to be up to this point. And it really does explore the relationship between Oliver Queen and Dinah Lance. So it's really important like that. Up to the point where they just realize they cannot do anything other than be who they are and be what they are. So we have Green Arrow hunting for the person who's going around killing all of the prostitutes. He ends up finding a name, ends up being a tunnel rat. Okay, this guy was just bad news from the beginning. He was sent to Vietnam, liked the killing, and now he's loose on the streets of Seattle. And that's where we stand in this story. Diane went off looking for it, but ended up, we haven't heard from her since. And we get a look even of the Robin Hood killer, which everybody thought was going to be a guy, and it ends up being a woman. Now, of course, I know the name. I've read this book before, but I'm going to wait until issue 2 to reveal that. Alrighty, talking about issue number 2 next, always with the cover, and this one's the best of all 3. The first one was good, and I like the green city, the whole 9 yards. But the black, the white, the coloring with the brown of the skin tones on each one of them, everything seems absolutely perfect. Once again, take away that middle strip, and you've got the perfect Green Arrow poster. Absolutely love this cover. And, of course, we go into the second story, Dragon Hunt, and I see how this fits, yes. What to say about this issue? Okay, let's start with Shadow, because we do see her origin all throughout. We find out, she's the killer, of course, in the last issue, and you get a whole bunch of, I don't know, obviously it's Mike Grell, okay? He wrote it, he drew it, he's a great writer, he's a great artist, as you can see right here. I love the book, but there's too many silly platitudes. You know, you can only see when you don't rely on your sight and that kind of stuff. You know, don't that which you know is not as important as that which you don't know. Just basically say the opposite thing after the first thing, and that's an Asian platitude in the hands of Mike Grell. I think that's one of the weakest part of the books. I mean, granted, watching the origin of Shadow isn't bad. It's just when he reads a fortune cookie to get you a comic book panel, that's when things go a little bit wrong. Other than that, you've got Green Arrow trying to hunt down the killer. He goes home. He finds out that Dinah is chasing some cocaine, some drug dealers and all that. They deal out cocaine and everything. Crack was a big deal in the 80s. So he goes about still trying to catch Shadow. And, you know, and he's doing pretty well, actually. He explains, you know, this bow means this kind of archer, blah, 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 yada, yada. And he goes about chasing her, and he really does come to a point where he figures out not only who she's going to go after, but where she's going to be. And they do this standoff. Now, remember, the first issue was all about him getting older. Does he still have his edge? Can he still be the archer that he once was? And he's face to face with Shadow, and she psychs him right the hell out and ends up beating him and getting her target. And he's feeling bad about that. And he hears a news story. It's like that's all about this guy that he saw Dinah with, and he realizes she's in trouble, and it's time to go save Dinah. Something's happening. He needs to help Black Canary. And he goes around and he's asking, hey, look, you may not remember him, but you remember her. I need to know all the information. And he goes to the warehouse where the drug dealers are. And this is where things really change for the Green Arrow. A long time ago, I did a live stream on I Love Comics where we were asked, what is the one thing, the most important scene in any character's career, life? And I mentioned the one important thing that's never changed is this issue right here, where Green Arrow sees Black Canary all trussed up and she's being tortured, maybe has already been raped, and he just loses it, and he kills her captors. And from then on in, we never saw the boxing glove again. We never saw it. Well, you did, but it was always used in like a joking manner. This was the last time Green Arrow was a joke character. And this is stuck. And this is what makes this issue number 2 of Longbow Hunters, so important in the canon of Green Arrow. It's an incredible book. Is it as good as the first issue? No, and that's mainly because of the fortune cookie platitudes that I was telling you about. But it still holds strong. And of course you see Shadow helps him in the end, and this traumatizes him. And, you know, that's not something you usually see in a comic book character anymore. Definitely not these days. Part 3 of the Green Arrow Longbow Hunters. Did I say that the second cover was the best? Nah, I'm going to go with this one. That is a poster. That is a sweet cover right there, man. I like that. That is really nice. There's a lot of elements here. Wolves don't really play a part in the story, but everything else does. It really works. Great image. Okay, so the third part of the story is called Tracking Snow. In all honesty, it should be called Exposition. I gotta tell you, this is where things kind of take a turn for the worst as far as everything is concerned. The opening is good. Of course, he's having flashbacks. He's a little traumatized from the fact that he had to kill a man who was torturing Dinah, Black Canary. And we get a lot of that in the beginning. And then it just kind of, like I said, it becomes exposition. We meet the cop who tells the story. We meet the drug dealers who tell the story. We get a little more story of who or what the dragon tattoo stands for, and who are the Yakuza, and why are the Yakuza, and what would happen if they were samurai that were sent from the Yakuza. Then we meet the people who were getting killed by the Shadow. And then it's like, what's their origin? What's going on? It seems like all of the story that wasn't put into the last 2 issues is thrown right in here, almost as if this should have been a 4-issue book. You know, give us, spread out the story a little bit, maybe, or something like that. But this is an exposition dump, this entire book, all the way up to the very end. Now, granted, I've got to admit, once they get to the mountain, it becomes more exciting. Once they get to the mountain, there's still some exposition to be told, but it's done well. This really kind of reminded me of like a James Bond or something like that. I could see this being the ending, the last chapter, the final gambit of a Green Arrow movie at the time. It really does come off as a little bit cinematic, and it works. It's an exciting ending. It definitely, Shadow's like, well, I get the bad guy, that kind of thing. But overall, it's done intelligently as well. The CIA is playing a part in this drug deal, and he shows up at the end, and he's like, you don't think we're actually going to go down for this, do you? That kind of thing. One of the big problems I would have to say with this issue, and once again, I'm telling you that it doesn't end as strongly as it began, is it starts to lose the themes. It stops being about, a guy finding his place who was older and everything. This is, let's catch the bad guy. All of it's a comic book this time around. It's not this huge story. So that's where the third issue suffers. Once again, great ending for a Green Arrow movie. It's action-packed, but it's written, it is written smart. I just wish they could have carried over the story beyond, these are the bad guys, let's get them. There's, and by the way, once it ends, more exposition. We get more tales on how all the old guys got together and what they expect to have happen and everything. It's basically the big guy's confession before he's taken out and taken care of. Man, I wish I could say that the last issue was as good as the first and as good as the second, but I shouldn't be doing this. I should be talking about it a little bit more before I do the big review. But there you go. After all the bad guys are killed, he goes and visits Dinah and says, hey, we got a raise because the CIA gave him all the money. And that is, of course, the third issue. They go to a mountain and fight. That's it. Like I said, gang, the third issue is not as strong as the first two. The first two, however, are very strong, and I guess that's it. Is Green Arrow Longbow Hunters really that good? That's the question that's put to me here. That's the big thing, because this story has such a great reputation, but does it deserve it? Does it really? Is it the perfect Green Arrow story? It's damn near. It really is. Those first two issues are freaking amazing. And and there are scenes in the third issue that are freaking amazing. Is it the perfect Green Arrow story? Is it an A+? I would have to say no. Is it a 10 out of 10? I would have to say no. It's probably a 9 out of 10, though. That's still excellent. But it isn't the perfect book, because there are certain flaws. So does it really deserve that great expectation? Yeah, I guess it does. Guess it does, but I'm going to put an asterisk and saying most of that great reputation comes from book 1 and book 2. But that's just my opinion. What is yours? Have you read this story? And if so, what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to click like and share. Subscribe if you haven't done it already, but make sure you're ringing you're ringing the bell for notifications, and making sure your notifications are set on all, or you miss everything. That's YouTube's rule, not mine. If you don't mind helping out the channel, there's a link in the description below for both Patreon or to Ko-Fi. You could drop $1 in the tip jar, or you could commission a video just like this one. And I really do appreciate oh my goodness, I should have checked it out. But anyway, I really do appreciate the commissions. They're a lot of fun, and I haven't read this in a long time. It was really good to check it out. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.